Hi, my name is Diego Perez. I have the class Communication 101 like the rest of you guys. Uh, I'm having a bad hair day as of now, and the name of my autobiographical speech is The Child Between Two Worlds. I was born in Oaxaca, Mexico. It is a culture-rich city with plenty of beautiful monuments and places to visit, perfect for tourists, really. If you visit Oaxaca, you will fall in love with the place. This is so beautiful, filled with wonderful people, nice weather, and much to learn from the state's history. Living here, however, is quite a different experience. I do still love my city, but it has some serious problems. For example, the center of the city uh, was a nice place to nice touristic place to hang out, and whether you lived there or you were just visiting. Nowadays, however, it's just filled with peddlers and tents with people that live there so they can sell stuff first thing in the morning. It's just ugly now. It's not nice to be there. There are also useless, meaningless protests all over the city every week. It makes it really difficult and long to travel anywhere. Not even the cops can stop them. The police cannot even kick out the peddlers from the center. I love visiting the place, but I just prefer to visit. I do not miss living there. But when I lived there, I lived with my mom, my dad, my maternal grandmother, and my uncle. It was like that until I was 2 years old when my father left for the United States, since diapers are kind of expensive, to be honest. After that, the house stayed the same up until I was about 8. Some of my relatives from my dad's side also traveled to the United States in search for a better life. None of them lived with me, but I was still close to them. It was kind of a hurtful experience to have that many people live your life that quick. But when I turned 9, my mom met someone who, after 2 years of relationship, she promptly married. Before my stepdad, whose name is Christian, moved in with us, my uncle, who was living with us, moved out to Mexico City in order to study in a fashion design university. His name is Jorge, and he graduated. When I turned 11, my mom married Christian, and besides that, a big change came into our lives. I finally met my biological father for the first time, person to person. Before, we had been communicating, but only on the phone and online. He also sent money regularly in order to help my mom to pay for my school's fee. And after I met him, we moved out from my grandma's house, and we had our own little apartment in the top of the building that we moved into, which is quite nice still. My mom and my stepdad, after some time, had a baby daughter named Alyssa, whom I love a lot, but I would not be around for some of her childhood because when I turned 13, I traveled to Las Vegas for the first time. I immediately fell in love with the place. Sadly, soon after my cheerful trip to the US, my grandmother, who lived with us for all those years, passed away from leukemia. And soon after that, I moved to Las Vegas. Moving to another country is quite a challenge. For me, it was not just the conventional stuff like barrier language or culture shock, but I was mourning at the moment. I was not alone, of course. I moved in with my dad and his family, which was now also my family. That is his wife, my stepmom, and my two little siblings, which are quite funny and wonderful. There was also my grandparents and my uncle that had moved to the US when I was young. Back in the day, my dad had always argued with my grandma Lucy, which was the one that passed away, about me coming to America. Since it was nicer than Mexico and there is plenty of opportunities here, plenty more than in Mexico. So as awful as it sounds, her passing also made it easier for me to move out, but just in that way, of course. The culture shock and barrier languages were not that much of a problem since one of my schools that I went to in Mexico, named Cumbres, saw English as a very important subject. Half our classes were in English, and well, that helped me come a little prepared for the US. But I still needed to learn a lot. My first school in the US was Canarelli, which was near from where I lived, and was actually my first public school that I ever went to. I graduated middle school in Canarelli in the US. I should also mention that so far my academic life had been average. I never failed any class, but I never graduated with honors. And up until I went to Sierra Vista, that's where I took high school. That's where I graduated with a college and career ready diploma. And when I turned 16 here in the US, I got my first job at Church's Chicken. I basically spent all my teenage years here in the United States. I got my first job, my first raise, I learned how to drive. I graduated high school here, middle school as well. It was all in the United States where I have met lots of wonderful people, taken plenty of opportunities, like my dad said I would here. However, starting college, I have had a rocky experience. After quarantine started dying down, my mom decided to have a surgery to have a hernia removed. And since my stepdad works a lot, someone had to come here to take care of her and my little sister. So I traveled back to Mexico, where I am studying right now online. It is a little hard to study online without all the resources that CSN offers me. However, I am confident that I can get through this. In conclusion, Oaxaca is as much my home as is Las Vegas. I would not trade any experience that I lived in both places for the world, since they helped me to get to where I am, where I have so many options to make of my future the best I can.